Hi guys and welcome to IGCSE on Fingertips. Today we are going to solve Chemistry Paper 2 of May-June 2021. The paper is 2-2. It's an MCQ paper of 40 questions and 45 minutes. Let's get started. The first question says, a gas is released at a point P in the apparatus shown. Which gas turns the damp universal indicator paper red most quickly? Now, damp universal indicator paper will turn red when it is exposed to an acidic gas, right? So, out of all these, HCl and SO2 are acidic gases. Now, they are asking which turns red most quickly. Now, SO2 is acidic gas, but HCl itself is an acid. So, it will turn red most quickly. So your correct option is option C. Question 2. A mixture of colorless compounds is separated by chromatography. Which type of reagent is used to detect these kind of compounds after separation? Because they are colorless, they require a locating agent which makes them visible. So a dehydrating agent? No. A locating agent? Yes, they require a locating agent. Now, question 3. Which statement about paper chromatography is correct? Option A. Solvent is needed to dissolve the paper. We don't dissolve the paper at all. Paper chromatography separates mixture of solvents. No, it separates mixture of solutes. The solvent should cover the baseline. No, it's not necessary actually. And D. The baseline should be drawn in pencil. Yes, because if you draw it with a pen, the ink of the pen will separate with the help of solvent that is going upwards, right? So option D. Question 4. Element X has 7 protons, element Y has 8 more protons than X. Which statement about element Y is correct? Now, if it has 8 more protons, it will have 8 more electrons in the stable atom, right? The neutral atom. Therefore, it will have one shell more, right? Ideally, it should have one shell more. So, option A, Y has more electron shells than X, which is the correct answer. So, option A. Let's see the next question. Question 5. A covalent molecule Q contains only 6 shared electrons. What is Q? So let us draw the structure of all of them. So we have NH3. Let's take N and H3, right? This represents electron each. So there are 6 shared electrons and therefore NH3 is our correct option. Option A. Right? Chlorine has 2 shared pair of electrons. CH4 has 8. Sorry, chlorine has 1 shared pair of electron, meaning 2 electrons. CH4 has 8 and water has 4. Not 4. Water will have, let's draw its structure, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Yes, it will have 4 electrons in sharing. So your correct option is option A. Let's go to question 6. Information about 4 substances E, F, G and H is shown. Okay. Melting point of E is 1710, but it does not conduct electricity when it is solid. These kind of substances are either ionic or giant molecule, right? Then melting point of F is 3500 degrees Celsius, but it conducts electricity when it is solid. This is definitely a metal. Then G, its melting point is 120 and it does not conduct electricity. Most probably this is a covalent compound. And 801 melting point of substance H, but it conducts when it is molten, right? So it is most probably ionic compound, right? It is most probably ionic compound. Now let's start with something that we are sure of. This is covalent, this is metal and this is ionic compound. So H is ionic. Sodium chloride, okay, so either of these two option is correct. Then let's go to G. G is covalent. So is G polythene? Okay, polythene is made of covalent bonds. Silicon 4 oxide is covalent bonds. Graphite is also covalent bonds. Okay, no clear answer from here. Then let's go to F. F is a metal, right? So polythene, graphite, sodium chloride, graphite. Okay, none of these are metals, but graphite is a giant molecular structure which does conduct electricity just like metals because it has a lot of free electrons, right? So instead of metal, the correct answer that we get here is graphite. Why? Because it has delocalized electrons in its structure to conduct electricity, right? So this is our correct option, none of and this two. But now if you notice, your option can be only either of A or D, and these two are correct from D. Therefore your obvious choice is option D. Now let us check once more that are all things true. E has a high melting point but does not conduct when solid. It is a giant molecular structure. Yes, silicon oxide is a giant molecular structure. F is graphite. Okay. Now G, at 120 degree it melts and it does not conduct electricity. That has to be polythene because none of the other are covalent structures. Polythene is very light, it will melt very easily, right? It is solid at room temperature and it does not conduct electricity because of absence of free electrons, right? Okay, question 8. Chemical compounds formed from group 1 and group 7 element contain ionic bonds. How are these bonds formed? Group 1 loses an electron and group 7 gains an electron. Okay, so electrons are transferred from group 7 to group 1? No. Electrons are shared between group 1 and group 7? No. Electrons are lost by group 1 and gained by, no, lost by group 1 atoms and group 7 atoms. No. Electrons are transferred from group 1 atoms to group 7 atoms. This is the correct answer. Okay. Question 8. Some information about particles P, Q, R and S is shown. Which two particles are isotopes of the same element? Right? What are isotopes? Isotopes are substances that have same atomic number but different mass number. Right? Same atomic number but different mass number. So they must have same number of protons. In this table we don't have the number of protons, but the difference of these two is the number of protons. So let us quickly write that. The number of protons for our first particle P is 6. The number of protons in this is 12. The number of protons here is nucleon number 16, but the number of neutrons is 8. So 8, and here we again have 14 minus 8 is 6, right? So P and S are isotopes, right? They are isotopes of the same element. So correct option is option B. Okay. Question number 9. A chlorine gas will react with iron metal. Exactly 21.3 gram of chlorine reacts with 11.2 gram of iron. How many iron atoms react with 30 molecules of chlorine? Now for this, what we need to do? We need to write an equation. We have Fe plus Cl2 gives FeClX, because we don't know what is forming, right? We don't know if FeCl3 is forming or FeCl2 is forming. That is what we are trying to find out. So for that, let us find the ratio in which iron and chlorine combine. For that, I will need their reacting masses 21.3 and 11.2. Now I will divide the reacting masses 11.2 divided by the mass of iron, which is 54. Okay, and the reacting mass of chlorine by the 1 mole. See, they are asking what is the ratio of atoms and molecules. So I will have to take the molecular mass of chlorine, which is 35.5 into 2. right? Finding the ratio between these two will tell me exactly what is the ratio between atoms and molecules. So 11.2 divided by 54 will give me 0.2, right? And 21.3 divided by 71 will give me 0.3. The ratio is 2 is to 3. For every 2 atoms of iron, 3 molecules of chlorine gas are required. So for 30 molecules, you require 20 atoms. So your answer is 20. Okay. Question 10. In separate experiments, electricity was passed through concentrated aqueous sodium chloride, right? So it is saying concentrated aqueous sodium chloride and molten lead bromide. What would happen in both experiments? Okay, so because it is concentrated aqueous sodium chloride, we have Na plus and Cl minus ion. In lead bromide, I have Pb2 plus and Br minus ion, right? Now here Br will gain, sorry, Br will lose electrons, right? It will get oxidized, right? And because it is molten, there are no other ions, but in this there is H plus ion and OH minus ion. But because this condition is concentrated, chlorine will get oxidized in this case, right? And here hydrogen will get oxidized, and here, sorry, hydrogen will get reduced and lead will also get reduced, right? So a halogen would form at anode. What is anode? Anode is the positive electrode, the one that attracts the negative ion towards itself. So bromine forms at anode and chlorine forms at anode. So option A is the correct option, right? That is our correct answer. Question 11. A reaction involving aluminium is shown. XAl plus YO2 plus 6H2O gives XAlOH thrice. Which values of X and Y balance the equation? Now, whenever we are balancing the equation, we'll start with balancing hydrogen or oxygen. Now, we don't exactly know how much oxygen is used up, right? But we know exactly how much hydrogen is used. It's 12, let's say, atoms. So in this case, we require the value of X in such a way that hydrogen becomes 12. For that, if there is a number 3 already present here, right? Then to get it 12, I'll have to multiply this whole thing by 4 times, correct? So the value of X becomes 4, right? And then let us find out how many oxygen atoms are present on our product, so we can deduce how many are required to be added on the reactant side, right? So we have oxygen and then it is multiplied by 3 because OH thrice, and then we have multiplied by 4, right? So we have 4 threes are 12. So there are 12 oxygen, right? 12 oxygen atoms on right hand side. On left hand side, you already have, because of this water molecule, you already have 6 atoms. You yet have to add 3 more, right? So if you have O2, the value of Y becomes 3. 3 O2 is 3 2s are 6. 6 plus 6 12, 12 on both sides, right? So that gives you 4 and 3. The correct option is option D, right? Okay. Question 12. 4 different fuels are used to heat a beaker of water for the same amount of time using the apparatus shown. Okay. Thermometer, stirrer, 200 gram of water, screen to reduce draughts, spirit burner and fuel. The initial temperature of water and the temperature after heating by the fuel are recorded. Which fuel releases the most energy? Okay, the one which causes highest change in temperature of water causes the most release in energy, right? So we have to do nothing but find the difference in final and initial temperature, right? For each one of them, let's quickly find out. You have 46 minus 17, right? That will be 29 degrees. Then you have 52 minus 24, right? That will be 34 degree. Then you have 61 minus 26, right? So you have 35 degree, the change, and you have 62 minus 30, which is 32 degree. Clearly the highest change is caused by fuel C. 61 minus 26 is the highest change. So your correct answer is option C, right? Okay. Question 13. An excess of calcium carbonate reacts with dilute hydrochloric acid. The volume of carbon dioxide produced is measured at regular time intervals. The results are shown as experiment 1. The experiment is repeated with only one change to the reaction conditions. The results are shown as experiment 2. Okay, so let's highlight some important points. That you already have excess of calcium carbonate, right? And the results are shown as experiment 1. So this is our original experiment, and this is our experiment done after changing at least one thing, right? Only one thing, not at least, just one thing. So the results are shown. What is happening here? In experiment 2, volume of carbon dioxide is increasing with the increased rate. When can this happen? When either of the reactants is increased. Now calcium carbonate is already in excess. So for increasing dilute hydrochloric acid, it's dilute, right? To increase the content of dilute hydrochloric acid, we will just increase its volume, right? So our answer will be, which change is made? Concentration is increased, volume of acid is increased. Yes, the volume of acid is increased. Okay, question 14. When sulfur is heated, it undergoes a dash change as it melts. Melting is a physical change. Further heating causes the sulfur to undergo a dash change and form sulfur dioxide, which is a chemical change, sulfur to sulfur dioxide. So your answer is A, physical, and 2, chemical. 1 physical and 2 chemical, which is option C. Let's go to next. Question 15. 4 statements about effect of increasing temperature on a reaction are shown. Which statements are correct? Okay, let's read the reaction. Activation energy becomes lower on increasing temperature. No, it does not. The particle moves faster, yet it does, because the internal energy increases. There are more collision between reacting particles per second. Yes, because they are moving faster. And there are more collisions which have energy greater than activation energy. Yes, because the internal energy has increased. So they have activation energy in them. Which statements are correct? 2, 3 and 4. So statements 2, 3 and 4, option C, they are correct. Okay, question number 16. An example of redox reaction is shown. Which statement about the reaction is correct? Okay, they are asking which is oxidizing agent and what is getting reduced, or what is reducing agent and what is getting reduced. So the oxidation state of both copper and zinc is changing. We'll just write oil rig. Oxidation is loss of electrons and reduction is gain of electrons, right? Who is losing electrons? Zinc is losing electrons, right? So it is getting oxidized, right? And copper is gaining electrons, so it is getting reduced, right? If copper is getting reduced, it means zinc is the reducing agent and copper is the oxidizing agent, because zinc is getting oxidized. So let us now read the statement. Zinc is oxidizing agent and it oxidizes Cu2 plus. Zinc is oxidizing agent and it reduces 2 plus. Zinc is reducing agent and it oxidizes Cu2 plus. Zinc is reducing agent and it reduces Cu2 plus. This is our correct statement, right? Because the reducing agent can only reduce something, not oxidize. Okay. 17. When bismuth chloride BiCl3 reacts with water, a white precipitate of bismuth 3 oxychloride BiOCl3 is formed. The equation for the reaction is shown. The reaction is in equilibrium. Which changes cause the white precipitate to dissolve? Okay, this is question about equilibrium. So we have BiCl3 which is aqueous and it reacts with water to form BiOCl which is solid, and H plus aqueous ion and Cl minus aqueous ions are there. The reaction is in equilibrium. Which changes cause the white precipitate to dissolve? Now first, adding acid, right? If you add acid, what will happen? The reactants on right hand side would increase, so the equilibrium would shift towards left, and therefore more water and BiCl3 will be formed, which means that the BiOCl solid will dissolve a little. It will seem that the solid is decreasing, right? So yes, adding water does work. Sorry, adding acid does work. Then we have adding water. It would act in inverse way. Adding water will increase the left hand side, and therefore the right hand side, the products will start forming, right? Which will increase the solid formation, which will increase the white precipitate. So no, adding water will not work. And adding sodium chloride solution. What does sodium chloride solution have? It has Na plus and it has Cl minus, right? It has Na plus and it has Cl minus. So if you notice, we do have Cl minus here. So if this increases and everything is aqueous, which means there is an unlimited supply of H plus ions. So again this reaction will start towards the left and the solid would start dissolving. So yes, this does work, right? So your correct options are option 1 and 3 only, which is option B. Question 18. Element X forms an oxide XO that neutralizes sulfuric acid. Okay, so oxide XO is most definitely basic, right? Because it neutralizes sulfuric acid. It may be amphoteric, right? Which row describes X and XO? Okay, so which element forms a basic or amphoteric oxide? It must be a metal. So element X must be a metal. And what should be nature of oxide? It has to be basic or amphoteric. Our options are metal and basic. So our correct answer will be option B, right? Question 19. Information about solubility of salts is shown. Okay, chlorides, they are soluble except lead and silver chloride. Nitrates, all nitrates are soluble. Sulfates, soluble except for barium sulfate and lead sulfate. Aqueous solution of which two compounds would produce a precipitate when added together? So what are they asking? They are asking which of the two salts from the list, actually they are both soluble, but when they react they form a insoluble salt. So barium nitrate and calcium chloride, right? Calcium chloride is soluble and barium nitrate is soluble, but barium chloride and calcium nitrate are also soluble. So even if double displacement reaction takes place, both of the salts are soluble. Then you have copper sulfate and zinc nitrate. If double displacement takes place, you will have zinc sulfate and copper nitrate. Again, all nitrates are soluble and sulfate of zinc is soluble. So not even this. Potassium chloride and potassium sulfate. Potassium chloride and sodium sulfate. So sodium chloride and potassium sulfate, again both of them are soluble according to our list. Now you have lead nitrate and magnesium sulfate. Now magnesium nitrate will be soluble because all nitrates are soluble, but lead sulfate, okay, lead sulfate is insoluble. So a mixture of these two, reaction of these two will most probably give you a salt which is insoluble, right, which forms a precipitate. Question 20. The equation shows the reaction between hydrogen and oxygen. 2HH plus O double bond O gives 2H bond O bond H. The bond energies are shown. Okay, which row shows the energy change and the type of reaction? Now there are two ways to do this. One is you can just remember that making bond releases energy and breaking bond requires energy. So the energy required to break bond minus the energy released when the bonds are made, that will give you the energy. If it's negative, it means energy is given out. If it's positive, then the energy is given in. Or you can simply use the equation that the change in energy is energy with the reactants minus energy with the products. Okay, energy with reactants minus energy, bond energy of the products. So let's quickly find that out. For reactants, right, for reactants, what do we have? We have H bond. There are two of those, so the bond energy is 436 into 2, and we have O double bond O. There is only one of that, so plus 495, right, plus 495. So we have 436 into 2 plus 495. So that is equal to 1367 kilojoule per mole, right? Then we have product side. So for products we have only OH bond, and there are 2 moles of that. So 2 2s are 4 of OH bond. So OH is 463 multiplied by 4, right? So that will give you 463 multiplied by 4 is 1852 kilojoules of energy. Let's write that down in our equation. So you have the energy with reactants is 1367, the energy with products is 1852, right? The difference of this is going to be 1367 minus 1852. It is minus 485 kilojoules per mole. What does this mean? This negative sign means that the reaction is exothermic. Products are going to give out more energy, right? The making bonds are going to give out so much energy that less than given out energy is required to break these bonds. So in total, the reaction is exothermic. So let's see which of the option fits best with our answer. 485 kilojoule per mole is energy change and it should be exothermic. So answer is option C. Question 21. Burning fossil fuel releases sulfur dioxide which leads to acid rain. Which ion in the rainwater causes it to be acidic? Which ion does? Only H plus ion, right? H plus ion is the reason behind acidity, behind pH value, right? They have given you the question in such a way that you will think that SO4 2 minus causes acidity. No, nitric acid is also there, sulfuric acid is formed by SO2, right? Hydrochloric acid is also there. All of them have H plus in common, right? So your correct answer is H plus. This is the ion which causes acidity. Okay, question 22. Which statement about the trends shown by elements of period 3 in the periodic table is not correct? Okay, element become less metallic across the period. When you go from left to right, the first one is metals and the last one is a noble gas, right? The one before that is non-metal. So this is a correct statement. The group number increases across the period. Yes, the first group is 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. So this is also correct. The number of electron shell increases across the period. No, that is the thing about period, right? The elements in one period have same number of shells, right? They have same number of electron shells. So this is the incorrect statement, right? C. Question 23. The diagram shows the positions of element E, F, G and H in the periodic table. Which statements about E, F, G and H are correct? Option 1. E has a higher density than F. No. As you go down the periodic table, for group 1, the density increases. So this is a incorrect statement. Then you have E has a higher melting point than F. Now in group 1, when you go down the group, the melting point decreases. So this is a correct statement. G has a darker color than H. In group 7, the trend is as you go down the group, the color becomes darker. So H is darker than G, not the other way around. So that is incorrect. And you have G has a lower melting point than H. Yes, G has a lower melting point than H because the intermolecular forces are weaker. So your answer is option 2 and 4. Option D. Let's go to the next question. Question 24. When aqueous iodine is added to a solution of vanadium ions, V2 plus, the V2 plus ions each lose one electron. Which property of transition elements is shown by this reaction? That transition elements can have multiple oxidation states. Option A. Transition elements have variable oxidation states. Yes, that is the correct statement. Moving on to the next question. Question 25. A piece of aluminium is dropped into dilute hydrochloric acid. No immediate reaction is observed. Which statement explains this observation? Now see, aluminium is itself a reactive metal. So when aluminium is exposed to air, it is possible that it might have formed a layer of aluminium oxide, right? Because acid is used and hydrogen is less reactive than aluminium, it cannot displace aluminium from its oxide, so no reaction will occur. But if aluminium was polished, we would see a reaction with hydrochloric acid giving aluminium chloride and hydrogen gas, the general reaction of metal and acid. So which statement explains this observation? Aluminium does not neutralize acid? No. Aluminium is a non-metal, so does not react with acid? No. Aluminium is below hydrogen in the reactivity series? No. But aluminium is covered in an unreactive oxide layer of aluminium oxide, right? That is the correct answer. Question 26. Some metal nitrates and carbonates decompose when heated strongly. Metal Q has a nitrate that decomposes to give a salt and colorless gas only. Okay. Now, when nitrates decompose, when generally nitrates decompose, right, they will give you a salt. So, I'll write metal nitrate decomposes. It will give you a salt. It will give you nitrogen dioxide and it will give you oxygen. Nitrogen dioxide is a brown gas. But if they are saying that only a colorless gas is given off, it means this metal is either sodium or potassium. Only sodium and potassium nitrates can do this. They will not give nitrogen dioxide, they will just give out oxygen. Okay. Carbonate of metal Q does not decompose when heated with Bunsen burner. Again, another property of sodium and potassium carbonate. So which is metal? What is metal Q? Calcium, copper, sodium and zinc. The obvious answer is sodium. You will never find that both sodium and potassium are your options in these kind of questions. Okay. Question 27. Aluminum is extracted from its ore by electrolysis. Which equation represents the reaction that occurs at the anode during electrolysis? Now, what kind of electrode is anode? Cathode is negative. It attracts positive ions. So, anode is positive. It attracts negative ions, right? Out of these four options, only two are negative ions, right? Only two are negative ions. Now, what happens at the anode, right? Out of oxidation or reduction, what happens at the anode? Oxidation happens at anode, reduction happens at cathode. Oxidation is loss of electrons. So oxygen ion is going to lose electrons. Out of the C and D option, only C option correctly states that oxygen is losing electrons to form oxygen gas, right? So now we have question 28. Mild steel consists mostly of iron. Mild steel can be prevented from rusting by a process called galvanization. Copper is not a very strong metal. However, if it is mixed with a suitable metal, a strong alloy called brass is produced. Okay, which statement is correct? A. Copper corrodes very quickly when wet and brass does not. No, that is not the statement. They have said mild steel consists mostly of iron and iron corrodes easily. Okay. Copper is mixed with zinc to produce brass. Yes, this is the correct statement. Brass is a alloy of copper and zinc, right? So answer is option B. Let's go to the next question. Question 29. Water is used for irrigation of crops and for drinking water. For which uses must water be chlorinated? Chlorinated water is required for drinking only, right? Irrigation you can use non-chlorinated water, which is option C. Irrigation not required, drinking required. Correct? Question number 30. Which natural process cannot provide a raw material for manufacture of ammonia? What do we require for manufacture of ammonia? Nitrogen gas and hydrogen gas. Let's find out which of these options can't. Air can provide nitrogen in form of liquid nitrogen if cooled. Limestone can provide carbon dioxide. Now, do you require carbon dioxide for manufacture of ammonia? No, you don't. So B. Petroleum can. Cracking of long chain hydrocarbons can produce hydrogen and electrolysis of water can also produce hydrogen. So our only option is option B. Question 31. Ammonia is made in the Haber process. Which conditions are used in Haber process? Haber process, temperature 450 degrees Celsius, pressure 200 atmosphere and catalyst is iron, which is coincidentally option A, right? Okay. Question 32. Which process in the carbon cycle is responsible for removing carbon dioxide from atmosphere? Combustion increases the carbon dioxide, right? Results of combustion are carbon dioxide and water. Decomposition of many compounds may lead to production of carbon dioxide like calcium carbonate. Then photosynthesis, it definitely takes in carbon dioxide, right? So even if you are confused that decomposition may take in carbon dioxide, which is factually incorrect, but photosynthesis always takes in carbon dioxide. So your correct option is option C. Again, respiration releases carbon dioxide. Question 33. Equation represents two reactions P and Q of lime, which is calcium oxide. In which process do the reactions occur? Okay, so calcium oxide mixes with silica to form calcium silicate. This happens in iron extraction, right? Which is blast furnace, right? And this is sulfur dioxide. This comes out from chimneys and exhaust gases. So this can be used in flue gas desulfurization, right? So that acid rains can be decreased or stopped, right? So this can be, okay, this is in option B, right? P reaction happening in extraction of iron, Q happening in flue gas desulfurization, right? Okay, let's go to question 34. Which statement about ethanol is not correct? Ethanol can be made by fermentation. Yes, it can. Ethanol is oxidized to make ethanoic acid. Yes, alcohols can be oxidized to make acids. Okay. Ethanol reacts with oxygen exothermically, making it a good fuel. Yes, it is a biofuel. Ethanol reacts with propanoic acid to make propyl ethanoate. No, it makes ethyl propanoate, right? So your correct answer is option D. Okay. Question 35. Which pair of formula represents two alkanes? Now remember, the general formula of alkane is CnH2n plus 2, right? We'll match everything with this formula, CH4, methane, right? CnH2n plus 2, the value of N is 1. That is correct. Now C8, so 2 into 8 plus 2, 8 to the 16, 17 and 18. So the formula is C8H18. The first option itself is correct. Question 36. Which statement about alkanes is correct? They burn in oxygen. Yes, they do. Option A is correct. Okay. Then let's go to question 37. Which statements about ethanoic acid are correct? Number one, it's a strong acid. No, it's a weak acid. It's an organic acid. Organic acids are generally weak acids. It reacts with ethanol to form ester. Yes, it does. And it has a formula of CH3COO. So ethane, so you have 1 and 2 carbon. Yes, this is a correct formula. So 2 and 3, only 2 and 3 are correct. So option C. Let's go to question 38. The flowchart shows petroleum may be turned, how petroleum may be turned into a plastic. Petroleum process 1 becomes saturated hydrocarbon. With process 2 it becomes unsaturated hydrocarbon, and with process 3 it becomes plastic. Now see, the process 3 is definitely polymerization, right? Polymerization. Then what may be happening at from petroleum to saturated hydrocarbon? Now saturated hydrocarbon has to be separated, right? So this has to be fractional distillation. Now to change saturated hydrocarbon into unsaturated hydrocarbon, you have to do cracking. So a long chain saturated hydrocarbon can be made into short chain unsaturated hydrocarbon and one short chain saturated hydrocarbon. So this is distillation, fractional distillation or destructive distillation, cracking and polymerization. Fractional distillation, cracking, that is option C. Your correct answer is option C. Let's go to question 39. Structure of a synthetic polymer is shown. The structure shows that it has a dash, amide linkage, right? This linkage is amide linkage, this linkage is amide linkage, this is, and all of these are amide linkages. It is formed by what kind of polymerization? Now how is amide linkage formed? C double bond OOH and NH. These two are removed, right? What is this? This is removal of water, that is condensation reaction. So these are amide and the reaction is condensation reaction. Polyamide and condensation reaction. Let's see question 40. Which substance is a natural polymer? Ethene, terylene, nylon or protein? Protein is a natural polymer found naturally in our body. Which brings us to the end of this paper. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to request more content, different subjects or for different grades, you can comment in the comment box down below. Other than that, leave a thumbs up if you like the video and share with your friends. Thank you for watching.